Welcome to Roadmap, how to take 3 listings a week until you're ready for more. Each week we interview a great agent consistently taking 2, 3, 4 listings a week. And we have the Season 3 highlights show.
All the good stuff.
That's it, that's true. We encourage you to take notes and apply as much of their knowledge as quickly as you can, and then use the copycat principle. We have an exciting show, folks. Before I introduce my co-host, I want to remind everybody we're simulcasting the show also on the private Lead Gen group on Facebook. They have 51,000 members, so we have a large audience there today as well. And we'll be pausing for a commercial message during the show as a thank you to the Lead Gen folks. Let me welcome my co-host from here in Cincinnati, and she does all our highlight shows. Welcome back, Sarah Close.
Thanks for having me back. This is really fun.
Glad you're back. And Sarah does a heck of a lot of things. You're the operating principal for and own a lot of the Keller Williams in Southern Ohio, Cincinnati, Dayton, and all the surrounding areas, several offices. How many agents now?
Right about 550.
550. I think it's moved up since last time.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing, and the other companies are kind of going down, shrinking. Well, too bad for them.
Too bad for them.
That's too bad. And then you have a team, real estate team, and what's the goal for sales this year?
The goal for sales this year is about 200 units. Might be a little bit short, but we're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. But you're gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
You're gonna hit that 200.
We're gonna hit it.
So you make calls every day.
I do make calls every day.
She does what these folks do on our show, so that's the exciting part. So what better co-host can you have than that?
Well, thanks for having me.
Right here.
Yeah.
Good.
I love that I get the Cliff Notes version of all this too. It's
know.
like a double bonus for me.
I know.
This is great.
It's just,
so
and
thank
everybody
you.
else. Enjoy the Cliff Notes. Okay,
The Red
good
Notes,
deal.
we should call them. I get the Red Notes.
There we go.
We're gonna brand that.
I'm gonna learn a lot too.
Okay.
All right. So our first guest is Scottsdale, Arizona. He was in episode 1. Adam Prather, pretty new to the business. He's only been in it 2.5 years.
Wow.
He's going to hit at least 77 this year.
That's
where he was
fantastic.
tracking. Yeah. So maybe 80 or 90. So he's on a roll. Let's
Great.
take a look.
The biggest thing for me is I'm thinking profitability. So, if I look at my past clients and my centers of influence, I probably can get a referral that I'm not going to have to compete for 1 every 40 calls.
Okay.
So that's a highly profitable call, and all these people like me, so just keep calling them. That's a huge return on the amount of time invested that you're putting in.
So that's a wonderful thing when you look at calling your database and calling your sphere and the people you know and they know you, and he talks to 40 and he gets a transaction.
Right.
And a lot of that's future business, so it's really not 1 out of 40. It's probably 1 out of 15 or 1 out of 20.
It probably is, and then that's building that pipeline. So that when that's ready to be, when the fruit's ready to be picked, it's going to be that much easier for him down the road. So,
right. And then the
Besides, they're so
phone
much
just
more
rings
fun.
out of the blue. You talk to them on Thursday, and then 12 weeks later,
Right.
they're ready. They're
Yeah,
right.
it's a come list me.
That's right.
Yeah,
right.
that's fantastic.
And it's not as competitive on the listing presentation.
Right, which is really critical right now when we have as much competition as we have for inventory.
No.
Yeah.
They're flying over in helicopters. They are. And lowering down on a rope to the chimney. There we go. Good deal. Well, let's see what Dusty Cole in Orange Beach, Alabama, right there near the Florida line. I think he does a little Florida too. Beach country. It's all about old expireds.
Okay.
And the script would be, do you still own such and such property, or did you ever sell it?
Okay, just finding, and I found that works too. You just, what happened to this? They tell their story, and then from there you're in rapport, and you can.
They just tell you, and it's really not that hard.
Those old expireds are gold.
What I love about Vulcan is, you build this huge bulk of them over time, and so all the new ones become old, and you have this huge bank.
And that's the case. And you, Sarah, by the way, was our first customer at Vulcan7. April 9th, 2011, something like that. And
Member number 001.
number 001. And so when you look in there at the old expireds,
Oh, it's
I mean,
pretty
they've
hefty.
been accumulating, and he was talking about how they just accumulate and
Right.
they build up and they build up and they build up. And these people are going to move, more likely, that is the group to work because.
Well, if you think about it, they've actually taken the time at some point in the past to have said, made enough of an effort to want to move to actually put their house on the market. And very rarely does that circumstance change unless there was a job thing or a family thing. Normally that seed was planted and it's just a matter of time before it sprouts.
Yeah.
And then what's neat about those is it's kind of like for sale by owners where, you know, right when it first comes on the market, everyone's all over them. Well then, you know, when you're making the 5th, 6th, 7th call, you're now only maybe one of 5 agents, then you're one of 4 agents, then you're one of suddenly 1 agent. And it's the same thing with the old expireds.
Yeah, and it's a friendlier call. And
Much so, yeah.
unlike those for sale by owners, they know they need an agent.
Right.
Because they
Right.
had one before.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, and
No, that's
very,
a great
very,
source.
very friendly calls. And if you're low and you need some old expireds because you're newer to the system, give us a call. We'll get you set up.
Yeah.
For darn sure. Those are gold. So
Absolutely.
So we have a lot of people in this next lady, Kathy Welsh from Omaha, Nebraska, is doing really well with calling around. Mainly, I have a buyer for your neighborhood because we're in
Okay.
that kind of market.
Right.
We're
She's listing her buyers.
in 2018 right now. I mean, there's a bidding war. It sells, and then they still want the neighborhood.
Right.
They didn't get that house, but they still want the neighborhood.
Sure.
So that's like shooting fish in a barrel from
Oh,
my experience. Every time I've
absolutely.
ever done it. Let's
Absolutely.
watch
Great.
her version of that.
Sure.
I have a buyer that wants to live in your neighborhood. I had an offer and had 2 more offers on the house if these people didn't get the house. And, are you thinking about I've got 2 sad families that want to live in your neighborhood? Are you interested in selling?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hit rate on that goes so high. If you truly have somebody that wants to live in a neighborhood, and there's a lot of that going on now, because they would like to buy something, but there's nothing for sale. And you call through that neighborhood, and you're very specific with the call. The yield on that is so high. You talk to 100 people, you're going to you're going to find 1 or 2 or 3 people that are open to putting together a deal. So it works.
Absolutely.
Works well.
Yeah.
So that's the trick. You just call through the neighborhood, and I mean,
Right.
you're gonna get. I mean, it's rare not to get a hit on that.
Absolutely. What's interesting about it too is that you get kind of a 2-for-1 because you can then show your buyer what you are doing over and above what another agent would have done to service them as far as getting them the listing they want. Besides
Absolutely.
finding a listing opportunity for yourself. So it's a double whammy.
And we're supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
We're supposed to help them find it.
Absolutely.
And if there's a shortage of inventory,
Right, you got to get on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Create the
good
sale.
stuff.
Create the sale. Good deal. We're going to go over to probates. We have more and more and more and more of our clients doing probate. They're either calling
Is that
probate
because we're all
attorney-
getting so old? No, I'm just kidding.
No, people are dying to list. So our camera person's enjoying that. Calling estate people attorneys that specialize
Specialize in
in,
that, sure.
settling estates and probate and such and life estates and planning and blah, blah, blah. And cultivating a relationship with those people
That's
as well as calling, and there are a lot of services. We have one listed with us. We're going to continue to expand in the area of probate because it's all listing business. And that's a good fit. So
Absolutely.
this guy, he's in Marin, San Francisco, Sonoma, works that whole area. And one of the things, the scripts and the dialogues are very different than you would use for an expired or for sale by owner, just listed, just sold. So he touches on that.
Okay, terrific.
It has its own set of dialogues.
All right, great.
Once you make the initial contact, and the questions are way different than if you were an expired and you were going to find out how motivated they were, you're not asking that. You're asking who's responsible for the trust. Okay. And even if there's one person responsible for the trust, you want to know if anyone's influencing their decision. So you want to get everybody in there.
And a lot of things he does, like in his listing presentation and his pre-listing packet's very different. All the services, because people have no idea what they need. All the different services that he provides in that process, and there are several.
Right.
And you want to know who the biggest competitor is. It's not necessarily other agents working probate because so few people do.
Right.
The biggest competitor is the investor that thinks they're going to go in and pick it up wholesale.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So they're competing, and they have to warn them. Just say you're going to have investors come out of the woodwork and want to offer you 15, 20% below market value.
Right.
Be careful.
Well, and he gives himself kind of some specialization by being able to be the person that then can tell them what the value really is.
Yeah.
So I think he probably has a lot of folks willing to meet with him just to get that knowledge, at least initially, and that opens the door for him to be able to lay out his value proposition.
Right,
It's
and all
brilliant.
the services along the way.
Right.
Because some of these houses are still furnished and whatnot.
Sure.
Give them names of people that specialize in all the areas of the steps to
Yeah.
get it ready.
It's a big project.
It is.
Oh, that's
And,
fantastic.
Yeah, and it's all people that do it do. They're there by themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So-
great.
So one of the things that happens, and we see it every year, is, and you see this, agents, they they come off of Christmas and they hit January and they're like, I got to get some business.
Right.
And nobody's there.
Full
And they
steam
work
ahead.
really hard. And somewhere around May and June and July, they stop looking for business.
Because they
They're
start
like,
servicing.
I'm full. I'm
Yeah.
full. And then they don't look for business until September,
Right.
the day after Labor Day.
Right.
And then they look until Halloween and then they stop.
Yep. Realtor holiday.
Right, yeah. Which is crazy. So the consistency is how you get to that next
Right.
level. And our friend, Aaron Wittenstein, was doing a show up at the
Right,
Westchester,
that was great.
your Westchester
Yeah.
office. And here's a little clip on consistency.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, what it comes down to is just the flat out consistency of everything. And it's like, no matter what, I don't know if everybody knows, we'll get into that probably a little bit later. Yeah. The thing is every single day I'm coming in and I'm doing my job. All right. My job is lead generation. My career is real estate and my job is lead generation. So now I have a team of 5 of us now. 3 of us agents are on the phone every morning at 8:00. We dial from 8 to 11 every single day. All right. Because at the end of the day, you've got to do the consistency, because what will happen is people will start doing this, that, and whatever. They're like, I got to negotiate this deal. I got to enter this listing. I got to do that. Everything can wait until after 11 o'clock. So I'm curious, out of everybody who's sitting there, I can at least see like 9 or 10 of you guys. How many of you guys are actually lead generating on a regular basis? Raise your hand. Be honest. 1 of you?
Well,
2 of you?
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 total, because you only see the middle of the room.
Okay, got it.
About 5 of them. Yeah.
Okay, so so I mean, what it comes down, it's consistency. It's consistency. Ren always calls it a contact sport. I call it a consistency sport, because you don't have to be the best at anything. You just have to be the most consistent, and that's where I am. I will tell you that I'm better than most. Is that come hell or high water, 5 days a week, maybe every now and then. Like Monday I was sick, so I didn't come in. 5 days a week, I'm in here doing my phone calls 8 to 11 every day. So that's in my opinion what's most important.
Good. But you're in crunch time now too. And
Yep.
so it gets harder and harder and harder.
Mhm.
The more people you talk to, the more you list, the harder it is to keep doing it, because the pendings pile up, the closings pile up. What then?
Well, I've got a team in place, so I got too busy about, when was it, 2 years? Last year. So I hired Priscilla. She's my operations manager, assistant, whatever you want to call her over there. So she takes over everything, absolutely everything for me. She's an absolute machine. She takes all my phone calls. She takes all my voicemails, all my emails. Keep in mind, when I first hired her, I could only afford her for 3 months. That's all I had was enough money to cover her for 3 months. And she made me her money back tenfold within the first year.
Yeah, the return, you're either saving $20 an hour by being your own assistant, or you're making $200 and $250 an hour by
Doing
hiring
your job.
somebody. Yeah, and paying somebody $20 to hand. It's tenfold the amount of money you make back hiring somebody.
It is. And what's interesting, and I think where people sometimes get a little sideways, is the feeling that, oh my gosh, I'm going to commit to a $30,000, $40,000 salary. There's really no need to do that when you're just getting to the point where you need to have that additional leverage. I mean, there's opportunities with transaction coordinators. He was talking about someone answering his phone. There's all kinds of services that can answer your phone, so there's a lot of ways to do it without taking that big leap if you don't feel like you're right there.
You don't have to take the big leap. You and one other person in your office can commit to an $18,000 a year part-time person that works, 3.5, 4 hours every morning.
Right.
And now you're committing to $900 a month.
Right. And that'll get you through that transition time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And Bill, because you'll get that $900 back pretty fast.
Absolutely.
If.
You use the time doing your job.
Yeah, and you don't do your assistant's work for them.
Absolutely. Who's next?
Who is next? And what's on second? Yes. Next is, I can't tell. How about that? Oh, from Hudson County.
Okay.
New Jersey and Jersey City and all through there. And that office, Liberty Realty, they have a lot of strong agents.
Oh,
there.
that's great.
And he talks about a little theme about how real estate is not a job. You know, you come into this, I used to do this and I used to do this. No, you have started a business.
Absolutely.
You have started
Absolutely.
a business.
Biggest mistake people make is not understanding that distinction.
Yeah, he makes that point here.
Oh, excellent.
As far as tips to people out there that are either getting started or looking to grow, the first is remember that you do not have a job. And what I mean by that is I sometimes meet with new agents that come into our company, and the first question I ask them is how many people are switching jobs or how many are starting their first job. And inevitably everybody will raise their hand to one of those two questions. And I tell them that they should all actually leave, because selling real estate is not a job, it's your own business. And unless you have the mentality of it's your own business, then you don't belong here, because your boss doesn't care if you're here. Nobody's giving you a salary. Nobody's giving you benefits. So there has to be some type of self-motivation of wanting to succeed.
So what should they do? How do they self-motivate?
You know, it's a tough question for some people, but obviously you have to have a desire to want to go and improve where you're at, both in life, in education, and in financial status. From there, talk to people that have already done it, maybe mimic them, model them, be willing to work. Just because you see successful people doesn't mean that they no longer work. I'm in the office every day at between 6:45 and 7 a.m. And most days, I don't get home most days until 7:30 p.m.
So, you know, when you're starting this, and you know, we see people that are able to pull back over time to where you're working 4.5, 5 days a week, and running a huge business.
Right.
But when you start, you're living and breathing that business.
Yep.
It's your baby.
It is your baby.
Yeah, and building it up and getting some traction. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a commitment when starting a new business. So.
Absolutely. It's moving from being a self-employed person to being a business owner, and actually making those decisions through that lens from the very beginning would save people years of frustration and reworking in their career if they can start with that mindset he's talking about. Yeah, it's a big point of distinction.
Yeah, and some of the larger franchises in the United States really support that concept that it's your business.
Sure.
And how do we support you as your own unique business owner?
Exactly.
And Keller Williams, yours is quite that way.
Yeah, it's a business incubator, for lack of a better term.
It really is. They do a fabulous job.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So, circling around to all the different ways, just listed, just sold.
Oh, great.
Because there's so many ways to create business.
Absolutely.
It's just not, you know, we can't be a one-trick pony and only
Sure.
call for sale by owners. We have to work our way around.
Some diversification source.
From Portland, Oregon.
So the other side of the country.
Yeah. Doing a lot of just listed, just sold.
Okay.
And she does a nice little plug for us. I really like it.
Are we going to watch yours twice? Because of the plug?
We could just play it twice. Well, we did that with Bernie. We did that. He said all of our agents use Vulcan7. And
rewind.
Nigel rewound it and played it a second time.
That's all good.
Sure. So Spring Cutsforth.
All right.
I love just listed, just sold. So, you know, expireds and for sale by owners, those are a little tougher to call. Expireds are beat up. They're pretty rough. It's like going into a boxing match. You better have some gloves on, right?
Yeah.
But just listed, just sold. What's great is you'll have to make more of those calls to get high quality leads. But they're really easy calls for the most part because there's nobody else calling them. And it's actually a warm call. I just simply, you know, it's funny, Ren and Carly, I just got on Vulcan. I had been using the competitor Red X. And I would say it and I would dial hundreds of calls on the dialer, right? What's interesting is I got on Vulcan and I said, okay, give me a round because I've got the neighborhood that you have, the neighborhood search. I got on there and it said, you only need to do 25. You only need to download 25 because you'll get plenty. And I'm like, I don't think so. I need a couple hundred. But then finally I thought, okay, I'll just try it. So it gave me 25. I called 25 and they were around a listing that I had 2 pendings in the area. I actually got 2 hot leads off of that.
Oh, that's great.
And here's what was so beautiful about it, you guys, is that I only got 25 records, right? And I got 2 leads. So your data, I got to tell you, you guys are lightweight ahead of everybody else. So
yeah, that's a new service for us. Vulcan7 Neighborhood Search has only been out for 6 weeks. And that's what people are telling us. They're like, everybody answers the phone. It takes me a long time just to get through 30 or 40
contacts
because everybody keeps answering. So
Right, exactly. I was so
well, good.
surprised.
I'm glad to hear that. And thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's kind of what that looks like. And it's a real fruitful way. And it's a way, if you don't have a ton of skills, that you can get in and actually start making some calls.
And she's absolutely right, because it's wide open. It's fairly friendly unless you're really saying crazy things.
Right.
Those are friendly calls. For sale owners can be friendly sometimes.
Yeah.
Just listed, just sold are very, very friendly. And old expireds are friendly.
Yeah,
It's only
typically.
a fresh expired that's a little hostile,
Crusty.
that you need a high level of skill.
Right.
So starting off at the shallow end of the pool.
Right.
But you can live your life at the shallow end of the pool. I know a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Where they work their sphere, just listed, just sold,
Sure.
as their dominant
Exactly.
moneymakers.
Well, and there's a lot of, I think, apprehension about the idea of making a cold call. And this is kind of the furthest thing from a cold call. You're telling someone, you're giving someone the gossip about, some real estate activity in their area. And who doesn't want that?
Yeah, but it's all in the approach. Yeah, if you're a little flat, you're a little boring.
Yeah. You find that Gladys Kravitz, though, I mean, that's like a gold mine. There's like
There we
one
go.
in every neighborhood.
Yeah. They'll
That's
tell you.
awesome.
Yeah, they'll tell you.
They'll
everybody
tell you it
wants
all.
to- Yeah, you got to use energy like Aaron Wittenstein. Remember? Notice how slow he talks.
Yeah.
He's excited.
He is excited.
He is excited.
All right, who's
So,
next?
Well, we're going to talk about this. Is interesting because in your franchise, I don't want to just talk about Keller Williams all day long, but you won't mind. But
That's okay.
The topic of showing agents came in was especially promoted in the educational base and
Exactly,
in
with the
MAPS
MREA
coaching and
model,
whatnot. And part of the model is showing agents became in really strong.
Right.
And they've embraced it, and they were sharing a little bit of the success they've had because they're KW down there.
Fantastic.
And here we go.
So who is Marilyn and Kim?
Marilyn Lair and Kim, her daughter Kim.
Oh, fantastic.
Kim Goss, down in Dallas.
Terrific.
We have two staff, and then Kim and I list, and then we've changed our model somewhat because we now use showing agents. You want to describe?
Well, yeah,
let Kim-
because of the numbers that Marilyn had just quoted you, we felt like we were missing out on, we had buyer's agents, but that required a lot of management for us, and neither one of us, that took us away from trying to get listings. So we've switched the model to showing agents, and then we have showing agents for different areas depending on where they're looking. We meet with them, we go over the process, and then tell them, our skills are in understanding value and negotiating. So then we pay actually $30 per home that the agent shows. And then the benefit of that is that we keep the business. We felt like, and we don't tie ourselves up with showing homes.
That's a great idea. What a great strategy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's very
One
smart.
of the things, you want to develop your past client database, and if you turn that over to someone else, they end up leaving. The relationship was built with, a lot of times, with that agent, and it's hard to interrupt that. So this has been very successful for us, a way of trying to still work with the buyers, because about 70% the people coming in are buyers here, but without taking up our time.
It's great.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes for a very simple operation.
It is. It is. You're essentially using a tour guide, and then they're keeping the more technical parts of the transaction, and then that's giving them that time to build the relationship with the client, which gives them the referral business down the road.
Back in the conference room, you saw the 5 homes. Let's talk about it. And great.
Which one are we buying?
That's it. That's it now. And Marilyn's such an inspiration for several years. I mean, here's well into her 80s, and she's on the cutting edge of everything.
She's in her 80s?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know. So it just, it's one of those businesses you can kind of do for your whole life all the way to, well up there. So it can be a wonderful thing. We'll have to see what surprises she has for us 10 years from now.
Yeah, no kidding.
That'll be fun. Good. So we have from Chicago.
Chicago, Windy City.
That it is windy there sometimes. It is. So we have Sohail Salahuddin, and he is he's on fire, and he's this first clip talks about the process that a lot of agents go through. They get started like, who do I call? What do I say? And it doesn't look pretty.
No, it doesn't look pretty.
It doesn't, and the best thing you can do is not stop and overanalyze it. Just put your head down and call a lot of people, make a lot of mistakes, and go through it. And he had a very good example of that here. So let's look at Sohail's.
Well, when I first started, I was coached. I didn't know how to prospect, and this was 2012, I think, or 2013. It took me a long time. I mean, literally, the coach I had he beat into my head that I should stay focused on taking listings. Mm-hmm. And it took me months to realize that when I took my focus off of that and I started working with buyers, or let's say, I don't know, someone wanted to rent a property, that I would lose the opportunity to focus on the listings. And then the magic happened. Someone introduced me to Vulcan7 and a dialer. I was dialing by hand before.
Oh no!
Yeah, and it was a different data provider. I don't think they had cell phones, so I would just call, and then when I talked to somebody, I didn't know how to close, so I would try and get their email address, and then I'll follow up with a video from BombBomb, sending it to them. It was just a crazy system that I used, and it wasn't the most efficient way, and probably not the most effective. But at the same time, it was a work in progress.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, gotcha. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, the dialer just totally changed my business. It wasn't me hand dialing. And I think also from a mental standpoint, Ren, we spoke about this just a second ago. With the dialer, it became such fast paced that it didn't give me time to look to see how much the property is listed for, look to see who the last agent was, because these things are you start to psych yourself out of trying to go after the listing. Oh, it's a couple $1 million. And then you say, why are they going to want to list with me?
Right. Well, they paid too much 3 years ago. Oh, yeah. Oh, let me look at this. The dialer forces you to just forces into the game.
Yes. Yeah. It forces you so you can't think, which is good. Don't think, just do.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Don't think, just do. Yeah, and Sohail Salahuddin is really a really good example. He's doing 150 sales now.
Well, and he started focused on listings, which is the key difference maker. Right. People, that's where people kind of flush out of that system initially. They get in and they don't know who to call or why to call them, and then they get oh, this isn't working. And then, that's why 8 out of 10 agents don't keep their license after the first 12 months. So that's the key, is getting to that really focused part of your job that makes the most difference in what your ultimate production is going to be. Yeah, so that's awesome.
It's so easy to get off track. And
it is.
And his coach, fortunately, to his credit, he had a coach that was sitting there going listings. So, and you've got a lot of agents in the, with a good KW coach that is driving that theme. They're all about the listing inventory.
Yeah, that's where it is.
I know.
That's where it's at.
It is. That's where it's at.
Now we've got another clip from him. Tell me about this one.
We do. So I added this clip because so many people have this idea, and I'm talking to a couple of you, that you want to go, meet these people and then become their best friend and go have pizza with them. This is about being a friendly professional, not their friend, and this clip exemplifies that.
Oh, very cool.
So you're not going in there to be their friend. You're going in there to be their professional. You don't want to be their friend who's also a real estate broker. You want to be their professional real estate broker who's friendly. So you can be friendly. And if you're if you get out of pattern, you can, do a pattern interrupt and pull them back.
Tell them what that is, if you would. That would be helpful.
Yeah. So if you're talking to somebody and the conversation gets off course where the prospective seller starts to control the conversation, you can say something or do something, or maybe pretend like you got an important phone call to make to interrupt that pattern. When you come back, you take control of the conversation again.
And it's important to have that leadership role in the process. And so
he
many
said
agents
that very
get off
well.
track.
Yeah, he said that very well. Great way to make that distinction between a friendly professional and a friend who's also a realtor.
Right.
That's really cool.
Exactly, because then they're not going to take you seriously when you
Right.
say, talk to them about reducing the price and
Very true.
what they need to do before closing, and
Right.
they'll think of you as their buddy.
Yeah. Well, and then they'll think of you as their buddy that's telling them they have an ugly baby when you have to tell them something that you don't want to tell them.
That's right.
So that makes a lot of sense. It's a great point.
That's it. We're going to go a little closer to home.
All right.
And I don't know why he's not in your office, but or maybe he is by now. Is this gentleman in your office? It's Dayton, Ohio. She is an office.
You're going to
up
have to
there.
help me out here. I think
There
you
we
have an
go.
introduction to make.
There
Just
we
saying.
go. So our next guest, he's really good on a listing presentation.
Mm-hmm.
He was describing one where he was up against 6 people, and it became a bidding war. We'll list it for this high, and
Right.
I'll only charge you 4%. And so he
I'll make you breakfast 4 days a week.
That's it. That's it. I'll come by and I'll meet all the buyers there. Oh, shoot me.
Yeah.
So he makes some good points here.
All
Brian
right.
Ogletree, Dayton,
Okay.
Ohio.
Terrific.
And when you're competing against multiple agents, I think the easiest thing to do is, number one, ask the seller, did you let everybody else know that there's multiple agents coming in here? And then, of course, they said, yes, we did. When you let the client know that, then it's easy to lay the groundwork to say, they're trying to buy your business. They're telling you a higher price to get you to pick them, try to get them to beat you up for a price reduction later, and that's not what you're looking for, is it?
I wish I'd learned that dialogue a
Right.
long time ago, because a lot of times you're competing.
Well,
That's
and
a
he's
bidding
obviously
situation.
pre-qualifying because he has that information when he's going in there. So he, in the back of his mind, when he's walking into that meeting, he's already got those scripts at front of mind, to take someone through that navigation process.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I should have included it, but he did some sections of the listing presentation, and it was canned.
Mhm.
And I said, so you're telling me that canned presentation beat out the other 5 people?
Yeah.
And he goes, yep. And he goes, most of the time.
Pretty much every time.
We think we're being, I customize my presentation to each person. No,
Sure.
you wing it. I mean, come on, you wing it.
Fancy way to say that you wing it.
Yes.
And not very well.
Not very well. And the numbers prove that.
Right.
Because a lot of these people that we interview are running 80-20.
Right.
They go on 10 appointments and they take 8.
Right.
It's very common.
It really is. It really is. And when you've got your listing presentation that solidly built into your brain, you can actually focus on what the client or prospective client is saying to you, and it enables you to actually have meaningful responses.
Yeah, and you can listen.
Exactly. Yes. Funny thing.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Where are we going now?
We're going to go to the beach. What the heck,
Let's go.
We're going to go to Virginia Beach.
Okay.
She's on track to make her first $1 million in commissions. $1 million in commission.
Very
$1 million
cool.
in commission. She has a very strict discipline. Her mantra is sort of like, I do this every day. And it reminded me of John Maxwell.
Right. The 5 things. Yeah.
Every day. Every day. Every day. And so Anna says anyone can do this as long as they're doing the right thing. So really, when you look at everything that all of these interviews, it's just a recipe. If you follow the recipe, you're going to get the cake.
Some very common threads.
From Virginia Beach, Anna Potahovich.
All right.
My regime is very strict every morning. I do not deviate. I get up at 5:15. I work out. I have a kind of a power hour where I do some visualization. I write my goals down for the year, for this year, 5 years, and into the future. I have an accountability partner that I share those with every single day. And that takes me up to about 9 o'clock in the morning once I've showered and everything. So I start prospecting at 9 a.m. I prospect with an accountability group via Google Hangout every day without fail from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. My only job every single day is to make 2 qualified listing appointments. It's all I'm responsible for every day. That really simplifies it for me. I'm analytical, so I tend to get overwhelmed in my head. So as simple as I can make things, my goal and my responsibility for my family and for the folks that work for me is to make 2 qualified listing appointments every single day.
That's simple.
That's simple. Just 2 a day. What's interesting is she was like, looking at how do I get to the next level to make that $1 million. And the way she's doing it is moving her price point. So she'll pick up an extra $250,000 in income just by moving her price.
By purposely moving her price point.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's fantastic.
Yes. So we're going to go down to Nashville, Tennessee.
All
Your
right.
friend and mine. We did the Tesla show down there a few weeks ago, and we're going to talk to Mr. Bernie Gallerani. And his first clip is going to be a theme we heard a few clips earlier.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bernie.
If you and I owned any business, we were cutting grass, we were working a restaurant, we were plumbers or contractors, our job is to get that business off the ground. It's it's in its infant stage. It's a child. We have to protect it and watch it grow and see the fruits of its labor through the effort we put into it. And the challenge with real estate agents today is they come in and going, well, I don't want to work that hard. Well, you're starting a business. So you have to be able to go into that mindset or that environment and have the right mindset that I'm going to put 3, 4, 5 hours every day on the phone. I'm going to do it 6, 7 days a week until this thing's feeding me back an income that I'm fairly satisfied with. And then you want to take a day off, you take a day off.
Just like Michael Klein said, it's a job. I
Right.
mean, not a job. It's a business. And
Right.
you have to just put your heart and soul into it until you start getting some traction.
I think one thing that happens is because our business is a relatively low barriers to entry, I think that's almost a disservice, because if we had to fork over $1 million like you do to open some franchises, our mindset would have to be in a lot different place. The level of intensity and seriousness.
Yeah.
So we almost do ourselves, I think, a disservice by the fact that it is, relatively speaking, low barrier to entry field.
Okay. So you could go back and take the bottom 10% off your agents now, right?
Yeah, well.
Just kidding.
As long as they're selling, yeah.
So Bernie, by the way, Bernie's goal this year is 450 transactions. Not a small number.
No.
Not bad. And his long-term goal is to hit 1,000, which may be another 2 or 3 years away.
Yeah.
If that. So knowing him, probably 2 years.
Right.
So.
He's got another clip here.
Yeah, he has another clip.
Okay.
And the clip discusses that we just need to, pull back and study and internalize those scripts and learn the skills and master that recipe to be successful. We've got to put in the homework on that. And Bernie can say it best.
Success isn't convenient. It's not going to show up when I want it to show up. It's not going to show up because I say I want it. It's only going to show up because I'm putting in the time and I have the right mindset towards it. So I know it's frustrating for those that are listening. I'll just say it this way. Take a step back, learn the scripts and skills, eliminate the time with buyers unless they want to buy. I think a good question for somebody that wants to make a transition is this. If somebody wants to buy a house right now, I want to buy in the next 7 to 14 days, work with them. That's it. Cut everybody else out, refer it to somebody else. If somebody says, hey, I'm flying into town from Wisconsin and I'm only going to be there 1 week. And I have those clients that will come in and they'll go, I'm flying in, I want to look at these 3 houses, I'm going to buy something. Work with those people.
Yeah.
Right? If they're not that, cut them out and spend that extra time working on listing property.
Great advice.
It is.
It's great advice.
It is. And I've learned so much from him. You've been down there. Learned it. Every time I go down there, I learn a lot.
Absolutely.
And he's making several million, and one day I'll grow up and get there too. So we're gonna go up to.
We're going up 75, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We're gonna work our way up into Michigan.
All right.
And we're gonna. She's pretty exciting. She's built her business, and each year she's done more and more and more. Her goal this year is 180.
That's excellent.
Yes, Michelle Sayward.
It was an organic growth of my business. It was not like rocket ship. I mean, it was 25 deals, 35 deals, 45 deals, 50, stuck 50 for a couple of years, hired help, right? Whenever you get stuck, something's got to change.
Yeah.
75, 90, then it went from like 90 to 115, 125, 135, and then, 150, 156, I think, 175, 185, 185, like that. It doesn't get done without help, without a great support staff and great team. when I wanted to get over to that hump, the 50 deal marker, I added my first full-time assistant. Then you get to like 75, and then you realize you need someone to help with, you know, the other aspects of admin. So I had 2 admin at that person, a listing and a closing coordinator. And then from there, it feeds into, I can't run all these buyers. And then you get a buyer's agent, you know, so it's you hire where you want to go.
So you hire where you want to go. So it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight where you go from 25 transactions to 180.
Right.
You got to work your way up there and hire along the way.
She's asking the who question, not the what do I do, who do I need question.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the key to that difference in actually getting where you want to be.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Exactly. Yeah. So she works hard.
That's great.
And she's making a fortune right now.
Good for her.
But hiring, people are afraid to delegate.
Right.
They're afraid to hire. They just need to just jump off the deep end and hire part-time, hire, like you talked about, a transaction coordinator.
Virtual, hire a piece of someone.
Yeah. Just start somewhere and keep building it up and building it up and building it up, because we have to have that leverage. You're running a business.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
That's our show. That's our season
How
highlights.
Fun. That was all the good
Yes,
stuff.
all
Thank
the good
you.
stuff.
Thanks for including me.
And thanks for being here.
Fun.
And I want to mention, if you're watching on Vulcan7 and you want to get involved with the Lead Gen Facebook group that airs our show as well, they are at facebook.com/groups/got-objections. And if you're watching on Facebook and you're not yet involved with Vulcan7, make sure to sign up at vulcan7.com/leadgen for a very special deal. And then the secret, Sarah Close knows this secret. Everybody on here knows this secret. It's their secret. What they do is they do that lead generation, whether it's just listed, just sold, probate, whatever it is, and somewhere around noon, maybe it's 1 o'clock, they go get some delicious Grater's Mint Chocolate Chip. It's the only flavor for listings. All the other flavors are for working for buyers. So if you want to list property, get the Mint Chocolate Chip, go to graters.com. If the listing is a little slow to sell, dig a hole in the front yard and bury it upside down, and the listing will sell a lot faster. And we will be back next week for another exciting show, interviewing somebody that takes 2, 3, 4 listings a week. You don't want to miss it. You want to be here. See you then.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being here.